Masha and the Bear, a Russian folktale. Once upon a time there lived an old man and an old woman. They had a granddaughter named Masha. One day, Masha's friends decided to go to the forest to gather mushrooms and berries. They invited Masha to go with them. Masha came to her grandparents and said, "Grandpa, Grandma, please let me go with my friends to the forest to gather mushrooms and berries." Her grandparents answered, "You can go, but make sure you stay with your friends so you don't get lost." And so the girls went to the forest and were so excited to see so many berries and mushrooms. Masha took her basket and started to gather them joyfully, bush by bush and tree by tree, and didn't even notice how far away her friends were getting. She gathered a basket full of berries and mushrooms and wanted to show her friends, but there was nobody there. She looked all around her, but didn't see anybody. "Hello! Hello!" Masha called, but she only heard her echo replying, "Hello! Hello! Hello! Hello!" Masha wanted to go home as soon as possible, but the more she tried to find the path home, the deeper into the forest she went until she was completely lost. While deep in the forest, she came upon a wooden hut. "I still can't find my way home, and soon it will be evening. I definitely shouldn't stay in the forest at night alone," Masha thought as she knocked on the door. But there was no answer. So Masha decided to sit down on a bench near the hut and wait for the host. Suddenly she saw a huge bear with a big basket of raspberries standing by the door. He was the one who lived in this hut and had been in the forest gathering raspberries. The bear saw Masha, rejoiced, and said,
"Aha! Now that you are here, I will not let you go. I need some help around the hut, so you will live with me and will stoke the stove and cook the porridge and feed me."
Of course, Masha was upset. She cried and she grieved. But since she didn't know how to get home from here, there was nothing she could do but stay in the hut with the bear. Every day the bear would go to the forest for the whole day, while Masha stayed in the hut and did the housework. First she would clean the house, then she would bake the cakes, and finally she would cook the porridge. However, all the time she was thinking about her grandparents and how much she missed them. She started to think of ways to escape from the bear's hut. The hut was deep in the forest, and she didn't know which path to take to find her grandparents' home, and there was nobody around to ask for directions. For a long while she thought about how to escape, and suddenly she got an idea. One day, when the bear returned from the forest, Masha laid the table as usual, fed the bear his porridge, and said to him, "Dear Mr. Bear, please let me go to the village for one day. I miss my grandparents so much, and I really want to see them and treat them with some tasty cakes."
"No," answered the bear. "You will get lost in the forest. Give me the cakes and I will take them myself."
This was exactly what she needed. She baked the cakes, got a huge basket, and said to the bear, "Now look, I will put the cakes in the basket, and you will take them to my grandparents. But remember, do not open the basket and do not eat these cakes on the way to the village, otherwise I will only cook disgusting porridge for you. Meanwhile, I will climb a tall tree and I will be watching you."
"All right,"
answered the bear.
"Pack the basket and call me when it's ready."
And so he went to the yard to stack the firewood which he had brought from the forest. As soon as the bear left the hut, Masha jumped into the box and put the plate of cakes on her head. The bear came back and saw the prepared basket. He put the basket on his shoulders and went towards the village. He was walking for some time and decided to rest a little as the basket was too heavy to carry. He sat down on a tree stump and said,
"I think I will sit here on this tree stump and eat a cake."
And Masha replied from inside the basket, I'm watching! Do not sit on the tree stump and do not eat the cake. Bring the basket to my grandparents."
How can this be?
The bear was shocked.
She sees everything.
He picked up the basket, slung it over his shoulder, and continued through the forest. He walked for a long, long time and was very tired soon. He stopped, sat, and said,
I will sit on this tree stump, and I will eat a cake.
Masha said again from the basket,
I'm watching, I'm watching. Do not sit on the tree stump and do not eat the cake. Bring the basket to my grandparents.
The bear was very surprised.
Oh, she is so cunning. She sees so far.
He stood up and hurried on. He traveled through forests and meadows, and at last came to the village. He found the house where Masha's grandparents lived and began to knock at the gate very loudly. The village dog saw the bear and began to bark at him. First, there were only a few dogs, but soon there was a whole pack of them surrounding the bear. They were barking and biting at his pants. The bear was so frightened that he just left the basket near the gates and ran very quickly from the village. At that moment, Grandpa said to Grandma,
Do you hear that racket? The dogs are barking so loudly. I suppose something has happened. Let's go have a look.
They came to the gates and saw a huge basket.
Whose basket is this?
Asked Grandma. Grandpa lifted the lid and saw the cakes, then removed the plate with cakes, and they saw their beautiful granddaughter. They couldn't believe their eyes. Masha looked happy and healthy. Her grandparents were so happy to see her. They began to hug and kiss her all over. The dogs continued to bark for a long time as they chased the bear back to the deep forest. And this is how Masha was able to outwit the bear. Ever since then, whenever Masha goes to the forest to gather berries and mushrooms, she is always very careful and makes sure not to get lost. The end.